Hello, my friends. Good evening. Hope everybody's okay. It's 9 p.m. here in Ireland. We just changed our time last Sunday, so we need to make small adjustments. I know in the U.S. for our listeners from the U.S. The time will change next week,
Correct.
and then we go back to our normal pace. And today, it is the first time we welcome Marcia Trajano with us. It's a pleasure to have you here, Marcia. Marcia lives in the US and she's the Spiritist worker for the US movement. And she's helping us going forward, luckily, uh, with our with our lives when she can, in order to spread the Spiritism in English as it is our intention here. Okay, so today's topic is Spiritism with Kardec, the risk of losing the foundations. This is an extremely important topic for ourselves, for the Spiritist movement, and um, for the Spiritists as well. We will understand a little bit more what we consider foundations, why Kardec is not uh, 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 um, he's not undated, he's updated, he's ahead of our times,
Yeah.
and this um, give us a lot to talk about him. So let's let's welcome Marcia. Good evening, Marcia.
Hi, everyone.
Have you here?
Thank you. It is
Okay,
very, very kind of you to extend the invitation to me, and I really look forward to this conversation today.
good. And our friend Elsa is back from her holidays. Welcome back, my dear. How are you?
Holiday for the spiritist is changing tasks.
Yeah,
Okay, it's very nice to be here once again. Of course, it's very important to maintain this light, spiritual light alive. And it's always a pleasure to know that some friends, good friends from my heart, are with us watching and send good vibes and can write in the chat. And it's nice to be with Charles and you again, especially today with you, our dear Marcia. We had been together in September in the Congress, Joanna de Angelis in London.
Yes.
She was one of the speakers.
good. Yeah. And bonsoir, Charles.
Hello, bonsoir. Indeed, very happy to be here again tonight, and try to show a little bit better how Kardec proceeded, what are the particularities of the Spiritist body of knowledge, and it has a progressive character. We will talk about this as well. It's not cast in concrete, but it's also not a reason that any opinion here and there comes and claims to substitute it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, as I said, um, it's all the topics we talk here is important, but from my viewpoint, this is one fundamental topic for us because as Spiritism spreads across cultures and is interpreted in new ways, uh, always we will have challenges emerging. Challenges like how to remain true to the core principles of Kardec method and teachings while allowing us growing and adapt ourselves. So this panel today addresses the risk of distortion, syncretism, dogmatism, or loss of clarity if Spiritism departs from its foundation compass. We will discuss here today how to preserve fidelity to reason, morality, and spiritual authenticity in evolving contexts. And in order to start, I'd like to address my first question to Charles. And Charles, what are the central pillars of Spiritism as defined by Kardec's method?
Thanks for the question, Stevan. I mean, there are two ways to answer. First way is what are the basic teachings of the Spiritist body of knowledge? But this, I think we have developed already several times. Existence of the soul, survival after the soul after the death, communicability between the souls and the incarnated, and reincarnation. Those are the basic teachings. Now, the question, I think your question addresses more how did this teaching come? So we also told already the story how Kardec started. He was invited to a session of moving tables, so he saw the phenomenon. He had no doubt about its authenticity, that there was no trick, nothing. And he dedicated the rest of his life to look what are the causes of this movement of the tables. And then he started, of course, to participate to several groups which are communicating with the spirits through the mediumship, and gathering a lot of information, questions, answers about several different topics. And what he did basically was to organize all this in the first book he wrote, which is the Spirits book. Okay, it's called the Spirits book in the title because the teachings and the answers in the book are given by the spirits and are not the personal ideas of Allan Kardec himself. So this is already calling our attention. How did he proceed? Was it through one medium only and one spirit? No, it was through several mediums and even more different spirits that these teachings came. And that is the big particularity of the method Kardec introduced. Of course, he had a role to play. He wrote the books, he compiled, organized all these teachings. He also added here and there some personal remarks, introductions, conclusions, and so on. But the teachings themselves came from the spirits, and in some points were even opposite to Kardec's own ideas, like, for instance, reincarnation. He did not believe in it at the beginning. He was even a little bit against it. But through the convincing arguments the spirits brought, he convinced himself. So what Kardec did was to collect a teaching coming from a different source, from the spiritual world. We know also that in the spiritual world there are some spirits who are like humans with limited knowledge, but there are also some other spirits which have much wider and much elevated knowledge than humans. Okay, so and Kardec, how to say, he put in place a method that he called the universal control of the teaching of the spirits. Okay, and I will read a quote, a short quote from him that he wrote. He put in the Gospel according to Spiritism, the introduction, second part, where he wrote, "The only sure guarantee for spirit teachings is the concordance that exists between revelations that have been received spontaneously by large number of medium, not known to each other and located in different places." Okay, because he really had the opportunity compile the Spirits book, mostly in Paris. Then this book went to the world. Then he, all of a sudden, he had a lot of correspondence from Europe, from Americas, from wherever in the world. And the people were saying, this is what we received here, and it's totally in line with what you presented in your book as you received in France. Okay, so this method, of course, was quite easy to put in place at Kardec's time. Today, it's a little bit more difficult because the information is going so quickly with the internet and so on, that you can very easily having one copying, copy pasting someone else, and so it's more difficult to be capable to ensure this independence of the sources of the revelations. Okay, so this is what Kardec did, the method he applied, the guarantee he gave, because amongst the spirits, of course, you have spirits telling you the truth, or some other spirits with limited knowledge will tell you something different. And still, there is one more criteria that is to be applied. Does it make sense or not? Is it consistent or not? And if it is not consistent, ask for some spirits, some spiritual mentors. Can you please clarify why someone is saying black, the other one is saying gray, and maybe somebody else is saying white? And so the spirits will never bring everything ready, just ready to use. It will always be subject to reason, common sense, and analysis by the human. So that is how Kardec proceeded. Okay, so of course, people with different opinion, there were already at the time of Kardec, and there are still today. And one other criteria we can apply now, 170 almost years after the Spirit's book first publishing, is you had a lot of other isms, Spiritism, Omnitheism, Theosophism, and so on. So the thing is, which one is still today in force, and which one, Omnitheism, for instance, or survivalism? In France, there were so many. Most of them have been completely forgotten. So that's another criteria we can apply today, because particular opinion, okay, it will represent the knowledge and the ideas and the capacity of the person who gave the opinion. But it will always be, weaker, I mean, not as strong as something who came spontaneously and universally from the spiritual world. So this is what we have to keep in mind. And I think Kardec inaugurated this method, which is very wise and should inspire us in this work, because as I told at the beginning, Spiritism is not cast in concrete, cast in stone. It will evolve according to the evolution of human knowledge and capacity to understand. But it cannot, suffer add-ons coming from personal opinion without validation.
Perfect. Thank you for the clarity and objectiveness here. Marcia, Elsa, do you want to comment anything?
May I? And the only thing that I would like to say, and this is going perhaps at a more basic level, Charles and everyone, is the fact that to me, the basic pillars or the central pillars are, and I always like to do the triangle, right? Where we have science on one end, philosophy in the other, and religion or morality in the other. And which means there are three bases, they're all interconnected and inseparable in how Kardec brought to us the codification, this beautiful body of work called Spiritism, right? So from that perspective, I would say, and thank you so much, Charles, for bringing to us or reminding everyone of the tenets of Spiritism, right? So communication of spirits, reincarnation, so on and so forth. But it's really important to me that in the method that you explained, it's that experimental method, not scientific as in observation of material aspects, but experimental in itself. So to me, those things really helped me when I first encountered Spiritism from a different religious and even philosophical inclination. But to me, those are very, very important to find that universality of information and how rigorous it was, right?
Yeah, yeah, correct. And I agree with you. And my dear Elsa, any addition?
No,
No.
Charles and Marcia said well. Wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. Also, we have a comment here. First of all, good evening to Luxart from London. Perhaps you know Elsa. Hipólito Rebolo and Juana Mora. Juana, she has a point here. She said, as everything on the planet comes on out into the general population, it becomes adulterate, and everybody has your own interpretation of your own things. Usually, it is when it's beneficial to them, not the the real thing. So she said, just as Jesus' teachings were allegedly changed or misinterpreted, also the powers that be, whether political or religious, can change things to their benefit. Yes, I agree with you, Huna. It is everything we have. I cannot even call misinterpretation because it's not a misinterpretation. It is interpreting the way benefits me. I understand according to my needs, you know. But let's keep going here, and then we go to our question number two. Since we don't have any questions here, so please, guys, if you want to make your questions for us, write here in the comments, and we will answer for you. Um, I would say, Marcia, if you don't mind, I want you to address question number two to you. And what forms of deviation from Kardec's teachings are commonly observed in contemporary spiritism?
Oh, great. This is a an important question, as I'm sure all your questions are, but this is interesting from as we are in different countries, right? Ireland, in the UK, France, and I am in the US. And we see many deviations, but if I were to say what types, right? What are the big categories? And I say first and foremost, and I think Juana, you said it correctly, right? There is those personal elements that may be bringing to color to something that is so beautiful and pure. But I would say if we start first of all looking at what I call emotional reason versus logical reason. So when we allow that emotional reason to come forth as the strongest um, guide to what you're doing, then we start to see some deviations. And what are they? Some of the most common ones are first and foremost are the curiosity or phenomena, right? Or the sensationalism, even we can say it anytime that you say, oh, look at this is something that's going on. And I can give an example, by the way. In the center that I used to be part of for many, many years in Atlanta, Georgia, I now moved to Tennessee. At some point, we provided the fraternal welcome, right? And for those that needed support, we gave their names, just a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, to the work of those in the mediumship group, and allowed for message to bring to be given to those in need, right? And you have no idea, those messages that were then transcribed from the tape recorder and sealed and given to the person seeking that became a thing. So our center just began to grow and grow and grow. And everybody was talking about, oh, I want to receive my letter. And so the president of our Spirit Center immediately said, we have, after a year or two of this, we have to stop it, because this is not the intent that Kardec and Spiritism as a whole brought to us. But as you can see, it's that sense of phenomena and the sense of even mysticism or superstition that can come and overwhelm, because if you are in a small group, you can say, oh, from, let's say, I'm just giving number 10, it grew to 20 to 100, and it's exciting, but we have to be very clear, stop it now. This is not why we're here, right? But it happens. The other reason for deviating from the Spiritist foundational work, and we're talking about the 5 foundational works by Kardec, right? Is when we start to, without any sense of filter or criticism, start to blend Spiritism with any other esoteric practices. So when we do this, we start to dilute its clarity. What is an example, right? And I have another personal example where we had folks that would come to the organization, to the study groups, but all they wanted to talk about was crystals or UFO, and that's not the topic of study groups, you see. So it's really kind of mixing, blending, instead of following that really clear, systematized body of work that we have. But on the other hand, and I have 3 areas, right? Another hand is, and I love it, we all come from a very, we all, I'm talking about, I am Brazilian, so Brazilians mostly, especially of my generation, have a strong foundation in Catholic religion, where dogma prevails. So in some cases, we start to see what I'm going to call it, I don't know if this word exists in English actually, but a dogmatization of Kardec's teaching, right? And it's really, instead of bringing that vibrant area, a body of work that really pushes us to question everything, to really have a critical sense to everything we do, it's now becoming a rather rigid, thou shalt, don't think, just accept. And that can be another form of deviation. And finally, I've seen in some instances where some of the centers say, oh, why study the Spirit's book? And I heard that personally, because I'm conducting a study group, and it's like, oh, this is so old, it's obsolete, why are you talking about it? I'm like, oh, no, we have to, right? We have to go to the basis to understand everything that comes in addition to those 1018 or 1019 questions in the Spirit's book. So some start to neglect the energy, the patience, the discipline that's required to study, right? So it's really almost like, I'm too busy, I have too much to do, I don't have time to do it. We have to, in my opinion. But one of the things that I wanted to also bring here, and Elsa, you're so kind. You mentioned we met recently, a couple of months ago, as part of a conference or congress about Joanna de Angelis. I'm a student of Joanna de Angelis, and Joanna de Angelis, the Spiritist author, talks something else that I think it would be good for us to put in the back of our mind. It's reference to atavistic inheritance, right? Um, those tendencies that we bring from our past lives, right? That we are not even aware, that pushes us to go back to what was once familiar. So that a regression, if you will, to prior form of faith, for example, even in this very decentralized type of work that Spiritism provides, then there is this, but I need that hierarchical, dogmatic, etc., etc. So let's think about it. It may be just that we think that study group on Sundays is my mass, right? And it's some things that we don't even know, but there are part of any spiritist group or any spiritist organization, we should keep an eye. What is it that is triggering this versus that versus the other? So to me, just in closing here, we just need to think that this is in its essence, Spiritism is a body of work that is really all about moral growth, right? Spiritual development, and that intellectual freedom that really pushes us to seek to serve through love, charity, but also to self-illuminate. And I think this is enough for today, but this is a fascinating question.
Good. Thank you.
Can I
Elsa, would like to add something?
add something, Steven?
Sure, of course.
Okay. Because when Marcia was speaking about her group, the previous city, Georgia, no?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Georgia. When the group was grow. Okay, this is happening a lot in the Spiritist Review, the Revue Spirit, 1863. Kardec make a note, very important for us. It is not the manifestations that form the true Spiritist practice, but the study of the laws of the Spirit and the application of moral teachings. Bringing novelties or focusing on phenomena, they attract an audience, but it risks creation deviation, distracting people from moral education, charity, and understanding of spiritual laws. That is our obligation, our duty is offer clarification, studies, and other things that we can offer, but never change everything in order to grow the audience, because you can have a number of people, but not quality in our service. So Spiritism purpose is to educate, elevate, and transform hearts and minds, not to entertain. But what we see nowadays, even in lives, mediums, yeah, in a state in trance, saying things from other planets, etc., that bring nothing, not important things for the audience. Audience is eager to receive in education, understanding about spiritual life, that it changes something in the daily lives. That is our duty to really follow what the spirits brought through Kardec, through all these lessons, all these citations that we have, quotations that bring us all the tools that we need to put in practice. And be simple in our Spiritist Center. Never bring things that mirabolante things, etc., that has another expression, and introduce other holistic things inside the Spiritist Center. There are two different things. My practice on chromotherapy or other therapies, one thing, but I cannot bring it inside the Spiritist Center, all these kind of things. This is not Spiritism. That's it.
Okay. Charles?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
Elsa is right. I mean, what is the purpose of Spiritism is to incentivate us and to help us, to give us tools to become better persons. Can persons become better through chromotherapy or through crystals or whatever? Why not? Why not? But it's questionable, I would say. Huh? The spirits are also very clear. They say all what is material has no influence on the spirits. Huh? But your thoughts, the moral authority you may have, this yes has influence on the spirits. So it places, the thing on a different level, because what we see also, and this is also a sign, all this stuff with crystals or these other practices generally are have a commercial aspect behind it. Huh?
Yes.
People think I will buy a crystal with this and that shape or this and that color or with two heads or whatever. I will put that in my house and it will protect me. So I don't need to do any effort. This is clearly misleading, because the evolution does not come from material stuff. It comes from our own effort to become a better person. I
Yeah.
don't see how a crystal can help you in being less, how to say, selfish, less pride or bigger humility. These are not things who come through crystals or whatever like this. And again, it's a question of reasoning, common sense. We have
Hmm.
to apply it and also to look, isn't there somewhere some lack of disinterestedness hidden behind these things? I would maybe give another example, this question of chakras.
Hmm.
Chakra, with the center of forces, came from Oriental religions. They
Yeah.
have been, in fact, also adopted by some spirits communicating through Francisco Cândido Xavier.
Hmm.
Okay, maybe, but it has to be studied again. And where does it come from? Is there a kind of a universality? Is there some scientific investigation done about the reality of those things, of the chakras and so on, and all these alleged properties of the chakras, or I have to open my chakra or to close my chakra or whatever? Well,
Mm,
what is really the sense behind all this? And this has, of course, to be analyzed and checked, because Kardec did not talk about chakras at all because he just didn't need them. I don't say they are useless, but it has to be looked at it carefully, without rejecting a priori, and also without accepting it blindly. We always have to stay somewhere in the middle.
Hmm.
Never to be skeptical and rejecting all what is not. I mean, having this kind of dogmatic approach, that's not correct. And also accepting everything new which is coming without examining or without analyzing them is the other extreme. And these both extremes are not healthy, I would say. It's better to stay somewhere in the middle and analyze everything objectively and as seriously as possible, even asking the spirits, can you please tell us if you can confirm or not, and taking other opinions,
Yeah, Charles.
trying to apply this universality of the
Yeah,
teachings. Sorry.
one of the things that you said with the crystal, and I really appreciate it. Maybe you need that to feel better. We're not saying do not get crystal, but it doesn't belong in a spiritist center, especially because number one, those easy linkages to commercial transactions. But number two, it is again that back to what Joanna De Angelis brings to us, it is that susceptibility perhaps to go
mm,
back to magical thinking or superstition or right that esoteric ritualism, etc. So if we think the crystal, and it could be a favorite shirt, it can be a candle, it can be whatever, incense, right? But if you feel that it's an external bringing what you need to do, the effort to grow, to expand your consciousness to become a more evolved spirit, then you're doing a backward movement, right? So many of us as immortal spirits, we have had that experience, and we may really desire to have that talisman or object that will make us feel better. And there is no objection to it, but let's be careful. If you are in a study center of spiritism and you see that, then we should be concerned that it doesn't, we should not be there, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's it's so important, this clarity, so important, this lucidity,
Mm-hmm.
because we needed to adapt ourselves, not Kardec needs to adapt to ourselves. It's the other way around. So that's good. And this triggers our next question, which Elsa, perhaps she's so quiet. Let me provoke her to speak a little bit.
I'm coming back slowly, slowly.
Yeah, she's still on holidays. Yeah, but before, Juana also comment for us. Luviem, good evening. Ulrich also with us. Garnet, it is with us. So thank you for your presence in our live today. So
before you carry on with my question, Stevan, look, I'm seeing the two sides now, listening Marcia and Charles. But also, when I was Catholic, truly Catholic, strong Catholic, nothing about Spiritism came to my mind before 23 years old. I was totally attached every Sunday to the church, blah, blah, blah. A good Catholic, as it should be a good Spiritist. And I use my rosary every day. My rosary was like something that has the power to comfort me, okay, to bring peace into my heart, peace into others, because I was praying for everybody. So once I started studying Spiritism, that came with mediumship opening, that was the most important time for me. I knew that everything that I was using before, like rituals, candles, etc., that we have the freedom to use it. Everyone is free to use, to do. But once we started learning this wonderful philosophy, or as Charles said, body of knowledge, amplify the horizon. Something completely different comes through. And we see truly in the open air the entire way of living that is guiding me in nowadays since my 23 years old. I am almost 75, and it's really opened my heart. And I'm not convincing people. I only offer to people what they should read, they should understand, and slowly, in order not to confront other people, because we have a place for everybody, and it's a time for everything in the universe. Time for us to flourish, to blossom with our understanding. If you are have a comfort in your church, doing what you are doing, and you are really happy in doing charity, if following Jesus' teachings, stay there. But comes in order only to add a little bit more information. You don't need to pay. As I say again, Dr. Andrew Powell, 2009, in our Congress, Medical Spiritism Congress in London, he said openly to everybody that around him in our bookshop or bookstore, he said, Allan Kardec, the books should be studied in the universities in the world. So we will jump in order to understand our illnesses, poverty, everything that we are undergoing in our days is there. 1,019 questions and 5 books that it brings comfort and understanding above everything else, but encompasses every religion in the world inside. And religions that in the world can add the information that comes from these special 5 books that in 10 years modify a lot of souls. Okay?
Okay, great. Thank you. So let's go to your question here. Let me see if I have it. Why it's dangerous to downplay Kardec's emphasis on the moral responsibility and ethics?
The answers is so short, but has a lot of strong information in it. I prepared and I know that it will be good for us to discuss and to add something from Marcia and Charles, okay? And says, Allan Kardec emphasized that Spiritism is not only about studying the spiritual world, but above all, about moral responsibility and ethical conduct. Downplaying this focus can lead to superficial practice, obsession with phenomena, or personal gain rather than true spiritual growth. I personally, now is my information from myself, okay? I personally received a message signed by 3 spirits, warning that childhood in the world is sick today, with many children lost to early exposure to sex, drugs, and neglect. The message stressed the urgent need to bring spirituality into families, even outside the formal spiritist movement. This shows how crucial it is to maintain moral and ethical guidance, because Spiritism's first role is to transform hearts and lives, starting from the family. So perhaps we should think a little bit more. We are thinking a little bit more into our world, and from several good spirits, not just from one person that changes sometimes the lessons of Jesus Christ. But we should emphasize that our infancy, our kids means not only spiritist kids, our kids from the schools, ordinary schools, everywhere. This message gave me a strong power inside myself in order to plan, to put in a paper my idea or their ideas, not my idea, because the message says clearly the idea is not mine, Elsa, it's from them, the 3 spirits. They sign their names. They are following what we are doing here. We are their hands in order to promote this moral education now. We already are late to do that, but it's time to do now. Focuses in some experiences, some lessons, something in order to bring this family that has their children sick, problems, drugs, robbery, and other things, despite all the good education that the parents are giving, but we can add spiritual guidance and help for these families, for sure. That is my statement now in the public. Thank you.
Okay. Charles, Marcia?
Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah. Again, what is the goal of our incarnation? This is really very clarified in the Spiritist body of knowledge. Is for our soul to progress, to evolve, to become better, to acquire intelligence and goodness. Okay, this is the primary goal of our incarnation. So all the rest, the material belongings, the money, the richness, the wealth, and the religion are tools to help us to reach this objective. So Spiritist body of knowledge is one of the tools. It addresses it in a non-dogmatic way, bringing teachings that can be analyzed, understood, questioned, and that give us a vision of who we are, where do we come from, and where we are going to. So giving us a lot of elements that will help us in this work to become a better person. Now, other people will become better person in traditional religions. It's Elsa explained how it worked with her. It was the same for me. I also have been educated Catholic, but at a given point in time, starting thinking and analyzing, not receiving the right answers, and even seeing contradictions and things which do not make sense, I just got okay. We'll put this aside because it does not answer to my wish to understand the things. And Spiritist body of knowledge brought exactly this aspect. So I would say even I'm more Christian now as being Spiritist than I was when I was Catholic. Why? Because it's not a blind faith anymore. It's something that you can put, how to say, it is in line with the common sense and reason always. So, but we must also recognize, as Divaldo Franco said frequently, it's better having someone which is materialist and atheist doing good and doing charity than a spiritist doing nothing. So we should never forget what is the essential goal. Now, of course, with evolution, with the people willing to understand more and more, of course, it cannot be dogmatic or Jesus told in parables, but it was the way the people understood the things at that time. And I see here in Ulrich and Juana saying that this misinterpretation and so on of Jesus' teachings. Of course, if we take it as it is written with all the history of these writings, it's not clear. You need really, in order to interpret some things, have the add-on coming from the spiritual world and the spirits saying us how it is, what is this future life, what is this kingdom of God, and whatever, having explaining us in modern language. And I must even admit that Kardec is a language of 170 years ago. It's not really a modern language. There are also some biases in Kardec's books, but it's a question of form because the content itself is very, very deep and very, very strong. So, of course, when we study something which has been done 170 years ago, we need to have a notion: how was science at that time? How was the meaning of the words and whatever at that time, in order to understand properly today what he meant at that time under that form. So this is, of course, something that is natural and that we even have to do in order to comprehend better what Kardec has written. Of course, then you have also some other authors, like Léon Denis, for instance. It is 50 years younger, 50 years more modern than Kardec, and a lot of the biases you had in Kardec are not present anymore in Léon Denis. But of course, there are some other biases. The concepts of the science at that time are also outdated now. And this is also what we have to consider analyzing those works. But having this in mind, the Spiritist body of knowledge is really a very nice and consistent and self-supported and comprehensive philosophy, giving us a lot of answers and making sense of a lot of these things that were misinterpreted from the Gospels themselves and even from other sources of other traditional religion even non-Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maria Elsa, what do you think?
I said everything that
Yeah.
was in my mind. Yes, exactly. Because that's it. There is no other way.
Yeah. I have two comments, if you don't mind. Number one is just for all of us to
Yeah, sure.
remember.
Yeah, yeah, please.
Yeah, Kardec reminded us, right? Recognizing true spirit is done by their moral transformation and by the effort they make to overcome their bad inclinations. And I just love it to see that. It's in both of you, Elsa and Charles, you mentioned that, right? It is really not about all of the things that we've been talking about previously, but it is about what is the effort that I make to become better. But when another thing, Elsa, and this is not a plug, but just something that I've read, right? It's an interesting book when you talk about sick children, and there is a book that became a bestseller when it was first published, and it's rather recently about the anxious generation, right? So it is really all about the social media and technology and the changes in how not just we educate, but our children are educated within the context of our society today. So my heart goes to any of us who have children, grandchildren, all to see the children out there suffering so much. And I'm talking about the youth in general, right? That it's a
Mhm.
topic that really touches me. So thank you for bringing that up, Elsa.
Beautiful. Very beautiful. So let me see if we have any comments here. Realia. Oh, good evening, Realia. Thank you for being with us. Ulrich, thanks here for this debate. Thank you, Ulrich. It's it's important, as we said, we need to bring this up because I know many other places they avoid this type of debate in order to stay fine with everyone. We can still stay fine with everyone, but we do have a point here. No. So,
Perhaps I can add something here, Steven.
sure.
Thinking about everything that okay, we are talking about, almost the end of the time, that remind what Kardec was advising us all the time in several parts of the Spiritism Review. That is, repeatedly, he said that Spiritism should never be used for personal gain, vanity, or sensationalism. He spoke that time, but it's still available nowadays. We still can use it as a guidance. In the Spiritism Review and the Gospel, according to Spiritism, he emphasizes that the focus must always be on moral improvement, charity, and the study of spiritual laws. Every time we can start in Spiritism book, finish study, and we start again, and we can see a lot of details that we, in our understanding, only growing, we understand more. Any practice that departs from these principles, exaggerating mediumship, introducing unrelated beliefs, or misleading people, is considered an abuse or distortion of the Spiritist teachings. That's it. So we have a lot of responsibility
We
in our,
do have exactly.
in our shoulders.
No. Yeah. So sometimes we are here thinking, oh, I reach my goals in this incarnation because I work, I spread spiritism all over the world. I did this in English, in French, in Spanish, in whatever language, but you are distorting Kardec.
Yeah.
So It is the same thing when you arrive there. See, I did it. Yeah, but you did wrongly. Instead of point a north, you misleading. You create more noise than everything. So sorry, you fail. You know, we do have only 3 minutes. Let's go to our final comments. And Marcia, since you're our guest, special guest today, so can I start with you, please?
My time is for Marcia.
So I'm just thinking that because you talked about the practice, but also we should never undermine the study, right? The education. So studying, learning, critiquing, that critical thinking plus intellectual humility, right? They need to be understood. They should be at at the forefront of everything we do. So I would say it should be our north, our spiritual compass, if you will, because this is something that was really valued and um, not pushed, I guess, incentivized by Kardec to all of us to really have that critical thought as an expression of our respect for truth, which goes back to what you said, Charlie's earlier, when you said you had questions, but a dogmatic, philosophical, or religious um, philosophy, etc., they do not allow that. And in the contrary, Spiritism is this beautiful body of knowledge that really not only allows it, but welcomes those critical thinking and the ability to look at everything that comes to you with a thought process that if it does not make sense, as we said before, it should not be here. So I really appreciate that opportunity to bring that up.
Yeah, yeah. Charles, Elsa?
Fully agree with what Marcia just said. So it's really the change between of characteristic from traditional religions, from this heteronomy to the autonomy of the Spiritist teachings.
Yeah, yeah, good, good. So we reached the end. Sorry, disappointing you guys, but I have to go to the announcements. Let me bring this up here. And let me share my screen. No, it's not showing up. Why? I know why. This is the problem when you have 3 monitors. Okay, so next week we will have our friend Julio with us, Julio Carvalho, and our topic is afterlife, memory and communication, honor those who have passed. And we are ready on the 5th of November. We are. The end of the year is upon us. So believe it or not, we are already there. So every Saturday at 10:30 we do have a mediums book study with Munir, Charles, and Guilherme. So everybody is welcome to join. Please keep reading Spiritism magazine. It's free. It's full of wonderful content without distorting Kardec's foundations. Please, if you want to know more about the spirit centers in the UK, please go to www.buzz.org.uk. Then you have all the centers who are affiliated to BUZZ and can help you. Here in Ireland, we do have many centers as well, 4 of them, and Spirit Society of Ireland is one of them. So we will rebranding. So by next week, we will have new things for you. So I hope everybody like it. New website, new Instagram, new YouTube, new logo, new a lot of things. Okay, so this part of the strategy to not allow misunderstanding on Kardec's foundations. And then we have the honors of Kardec, the Spiritism, the Francophone Spiritism movement in France, with a lot of details, a lot of events along the year. So if you do speak French, if you do understand French, I highly recommend you to see the wonderful work they are doing in France. And please keep listening to Kardec Radio. Thank Kardec Radio for the opportunity to be here. And this is it from me today. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, Marcia, for being here with us. I know it's a little bit early. We forgot this time change, so we need to reschedule everything. But next week, everything is going back to the normal pace. Okay? So, Elsa,
Bye-bye.
welcome back. Charles, it's
Thank
always
you.
a pleasure to have you here.
This is
And
my home.
I hope you return more times. Yeah, always we have open door for you here. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Okay,
Big
thank
kiss
you.
to everybody.
Thank you, Luviem. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Vialia, Rurich, Juana, Hipólito. So thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.